Lancaster, California. A neighbor's security camera captures a husband dragging a large object wrapped in fabric out of the apartment, slowly, carefully, as if trying to hide something horrifying. A few days later, the body of Sheylla Cabrera, a mother of 3 young children, is found discarded on a slope in Angeles National Forest, wrapped in fabric identical to what appears in the video. Her husband, Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo, gives contradictory statements. First, he says ICE took his wife. Then, he says she left with another man. Finally, he says it was just an accident. But instead of staying to explain, he quickly flees to Peru, taking all 3 of their young children with him. Sheyella's family discovers the surveillance footage. Police confirm the body, and an international arrest warrant is issued. Jossimar turns himself in at Interpol, Lima, detained pending extradition. December 2025. Peru approves. He is brought back to Los Angeles to face charges of murder with a knife. Sheylla, 33 years old, was a devoted mother, considering divorce because her husband abused her psychologically and physically. She never had the chance to say goodbye to her children. This is not just a murder case. This is a story about a mother whose life was stolen, a chilling piece of video evidence, a flight across borders, and a pursuit of justice stretching thousands of miles. In today's video, we will take a deep look at the most critical surveillance footage, the piece that changed the entire case. Contradictory statements and a history of domestic abuse. A dramatic extradition from Peru to the United States, and the pain of Sheyella's family as they fight for justice for the mother they loved. If you want to know the full truth behind this case, from the fatal 4 a.m. moment to the upcoming court trial, stay with me until the end. And if you're drawn to real cases with clear evidence, international drama, and a message about domestic violence, hit subscribe now, turn on notifications, and like this video to support telling stories like this with respect. Let's begin. Sheylla Cabrera, 33 years old, was the mother of 3 young sons. She lived in Lancaster, California, a typical suburb of Los Angeles County, where families try to build quiet lives between the desert and the city. From what family and friends shared, Sheylla was a wonderful mother. She loved her children unconditionally, always trying to create an environment that was safe, joyful for them. She was a woman who was strong, resilient, the kind of person who would do anything to protect her family. But behind that smile were cracks. Sheylla was considering divorcing her husband, Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo. According to her sister, Jaycee Gutierrez, and the family, she had endured psychological and physical abuse for a long time. There were allegations that Jossimar had hit her, slapped their 3-year-old son, and controlled her life in a suffocating way. Classic red flags of domestic violence, controlling money and schedules, isolating her from friends and family, physical violence escalating from words to actions. Sheylla had begun talking to her family about her intention to divorce. She wanted a life that was better for her children, no longer living in fear every day. But she never had the chance to make it happen. The family remembers, Sheylla was always optimistic, always trying to keep the peace for the sake of her children. She worked hard, taking care of the home, and always putting her children first. Her sister, Jessie, once said, Sheylla was the most wonderful mother. She only wanted to protect her children and live in peace. She did not deserve to suffer this. No one imagined that those arguments would eventually lead to a tragedy that could not be undone. Lancaster, where they lived, is a diverse community, but it is also a place where domestic violence happens more often than we think, And inside those apartments that seem so ordinary, sometimes tragedy unfolds without anyone knowing, until it is too late. Sheylla was not just a victim. She became a symbol of thousands of women trying to escape the cycle of abuse. Her story reminds us, if you, or someone you know, is in danger, speak up early. National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233, available 24/7. But on that fateful night in August 2025, Sheylla had no more chances. Before we go deeper into the timeline, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the surveillance video at 4 a.m.? Do you believe it is undeniable evidence? Or is there still room for doubt? Leave a comment right below. Did you suspect Jossimar from the start? Or do you think there may still be another factor that hasn't been fully explained? I will read and respond to some of the best comments in the pinned section. Let's discuss. Now, we move into the timeline. The days of August 2025 changed everything forever. August 10th, 2025. The fateful night. Sheylla Cabrera was stabbed to death with a knife inside her own apartment in Lancaster. There were no direct witnesses, no loud screams, but according to investigators, this was an intentional act of murder, committed with a deadly weapon. Police later determined the wounds were fatal, and the time of death fell within the late evening or early morning hours. Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo, her husband, was the only person inside the apartment at that time. Around 4 a.m. on August 10th or 11th. This was the moment that changed the entire case. A neighbor's security camera recorded Jossimar dragging a large object wrapped in fabric, possibly curtains or a covering cloth, out of the apartment complex. He pulled it slowly, carefully. The object so heavy that he had to use both hands, at times stopping to readjust it. Then, he loaded the object into his car and drove away. This video is the most valuable piece of evidence. It does not only show suspicious behavior, it also matches in a chilling way with how Sheylla's body was later found, wrapped in similar material and discarded on a hillside. August 12th. Sheylla's family, worried because they could not reach her, officially reported her missing to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. They said that Jossimar gave strange explanations. First, IC took her. Then, she left with another man. Then, maybe it was an accident. These contradictory statements made the family suspicious immediately. August 13th. Police reviewed the security cameras from the apartment complex and discovered the footage showing an object being dragged at 4 a.m. This was the turning point. The case was no longer treated as a missing person. It shifted to a suspected homicide. They began questioning Jossimar. But before any questions could be answered, he quickly disappeared off the radar. August 13th to 15th. Jossimar flew to Peru, taking all 3 young children with him. He did not inform Sheylla's family. He did not contact the police. This was a clear flight risk, fleeing from U.S. law enforcement. Meanwhile, Sheylla's family desperately searched. They shared the surveillance footage with police and the media. The video spread rapidly, triggering public outrage across the United States. August 16th. The body is discovered. The Montrose Mountain Search and Rescue Team found Sheylla's body in Angeles National Forest. She had been discarded on a hillside, wrapped in fabric identical to what appeared in the video. The cause of death was confirmed: stab wounds. homicide. That same day, the 3 children were found safe in Peru. They were placed into temporary protective custody and later reunited with their grandmother, Shella's mother. The family felt relief knowing the children were safe. But the pain of losing their daughter was overwhelming. The moment her body was found was truly a shock. Before we continue, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about Jossimar's contradictory statements? From "ICE took her" to "an accident." Which part makes you feel the most suspicious? Or do you think the history of domestic abuse is the key motive? I really want to know the perspective of this community. And if you've followed similar cases before, feel free to share as well. August 22nd. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office officially files charges. Murder, use of a deadly weapon, a knife. An international arrest warrant is issued through Interpol. Now, we move into what investigators have gathered, and why this case has become impossible to deny for Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo. Evidence number 1, surveillance video. The dragging footage. This is the most critical piece, and also the most horrifying of the entire case. Evidence without words, no justification, no explanation, impossible to deny, recorded at 4 a.m., just hours after Sheylla Cabrera was stabbed to death inside her own apartment. Footage from a neighbor's security camera, a simple camera mounted in the shared hallway of an apartment complex in Lancaster, accidentally captured a moment that would change everything. Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo appears clearly on camera. A tall man, dressed in dark clothing from head to toe, as if deliberately blending into the shadows. He is not rushing, not panicking. Instead, he drags slowly, carefully, a long cylindrical object, heavy, tightly wrapped in thick fabric. It could be curtains or a bedsheet, taken directly from inside the apartment. Imagine that scene. 4 a.m. The streets of Lancaster are silent. Only the dim yellow glow of streetlights falls onto the cold concrete. Jossimar leans forward, both hands grip tightly on either end of the object. He pulls it step by step across the concrete ground. The object was so heavy that he had to stop twice. Once, to adjust the fabric that had slipped. Another time, to catch his breath and look around to see if anyone was watching. Then he kept dragging, until the object was finally placed inside the trunk. The trunk lid slammed shut. The sound, a sharp click, echoes in the video, sounding like the lid of a coffin closing. After that, he drove away into the darkness, leaving behind an empty hallway and a wife who was dead. Police did not take long to compare. They placed the video side by side with crime scene photos of Shella's body in Angeles National Forest. The size of the object in the video, approximately 5 to 6 feet long, cylindrical, heavy, matched almost perfectly with the body of an adult woman rolled up and wrapped in fabrics. The wrapping material, a thick cloth with a faint pattern, resembled the curtains from their apartment. This was confirmed through forensic testing and comparison with fabric samples taken from the home. There was no obvious blood visible in the video, but that only proves how calculated it was. He wrapped it carefully to conceal everything. There is no reasonable explanation for this behavior. Not a large bag from moving. Not taking trash to the dump. Not helping a neighbor move furniture. This is the act of transporting a body. Cold, deliberate, and clearly captured on camera. When this video was leaked and spread across social media, public outrage in the United States exploded. Millions of people watched it over and over again, zooming in on every step he dragged it, every pause, and asking, how could a man do this to his own wife, to the mother of his 3 children? This video is not just evidence. It is a silent accusation. It is a late cry for help from Sheylla, echoing through every blurred pixel. And it is the reason this case cannot end as an accident or a missing person. This is the evidence that leaves Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo with no path to denial. And it is also what makes us, the ones watching, unable to forget. This is not a large bag. This is chilling visual evidence, the footage that ignited public outrage across America. When the family reported Sheylla missing, Jossimar gave 3 different versions within just a few days. First, he said, IC, immigration authorities, took her, a lie easily disproven, because Sheylla did not have any immigration issues. Then he changed his story. She left with another man, but there was no evidence to support it, and the family confirmed that Sheylla had no extramarital relationship. Finally, he said, maybe it was an accident. But he could not explain why he was dragging a large object wrapped in fabric out of the apartment in the middle of the night. These contradictions are classic signs of a suspect trying to conceal the truth. Police quickly realized he was not only lying, but lying clumsily. Evidence number 3. History of domestic abuse. Family and friends of Sheylla confirmed that Jossimar had a history of violent behavior. Psychologically, controlling money, controlling schedules, and isolating Sheylla from family and friends. Physically, there were allegations that he slapped their 3-year-old son and assaulted Sheylla multiple times. Sheylla was preparing to divorce, and that may have become a direct motive. Loss of control, risk of losing the children, assets, and power within the family. In many domestic violence-related homicide cases, abuse often escalates into murder the moment the victim decides to leave. Sheylla had begun talking about divorce, and that may have been the final straw. Investigation expands. The LA County Sheriff's Department quickly coordinated with the FBI and Interpol. On August 22nd, 2025, the District Attorney's Office officially filed charges. Murder with use of a deadly weapon, a knife. An international arrest warrant was issued immediately. At that point, Jossimar was in Peru, but he could not run forever. August 27th, Jossimar turned himself in at the Interpol office in Lima, Peru. He was placed in custody pending extradition, preventive detention. For the first time since Sheylla was murdered, her family had hoped that justice might finally be served. Her sister, Jessie Gutierrez, said, "Extradition cannot bring her back, but it brings us closer to justice. He cannot escape his guilt simply by crossing a border." Sheylla's mother, Helga Rochillo, the children's grandmother, said, "The children are safe with me now, but they've lost their mother. Sheylla only wanted a better life for her children. She did not deserve to die like this." These words remind us that this case is not just a legal matter. It is the very real pain of a family robbed of the person they loved most. Back to Jossimar. With video evidence that is nearly impossible to deny, and a history of domestic abuse becoming increasingly clear, Jossimar Cabrera Cornejo understood he was being pushed into a corner. But instead of facing it, he chose the familiar path of many suspects: to run, opening a dramatic cross-border pursuit where justice had to cross thousands of miles of ocean. Personally, when I read that Jossimar took all 3 young children with him to Peru, I was truly shocked. What about you? Was that the act of a father trying to protect his children, or using his own children as a shield? He flew to Peru, his homeland, taking the 3 children, as if hoping their presence would make everything more complicated. He did not inform Sheylla's family. He did not contact the police. There was only one cold act: leaving the United States, leaving behind his wife's body, and hoping that thousands of miles of distance would erase the crime. But that did not happen. Public outrage in the United States exploded. The dragging footage was shared everywhere, from TikTok to national news outlets. Sheylla's family appeared on television, breaking down in tears, asking in desperation, "Where did he take the children? They need their mother." Interpol issued a red notice, the highest level of international wanted alert. The Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office worked closely with Peruvian authorities. Diplomatic pressure spiked. If extradition failed, it would become a stain on international justice. Jossimar went into hiding in Peru, but the darkness was slowly closing in. August 27th, 2025, the moment of surrender. Jossimar appeared at Interpol headquarters in Lima, handcuffed, head lowered before the cameras. The video, released by the Policía Nacional del Peru, spread rapidly. A man who once dragged a heavy object in the middle of the night, now standing in silence, waiting for his fate. Preventive detention, held in custody pending extradition. There was no way left to run. Sheylla's family exhaled through tears. Her sister, Jessie Gutierrez, said in a trembling but resolute voice acting, "He thought crossing a border would let him escape justice. But justice has no borders. We waited for this moment for far too long. Sheylla deserves justice." The extradition process. 4 months of tension. From August to December 2025, a quiet but fierce legal battle unfolded. Peruvian authorities reviewed all evidence provided by the U.S. The 4 a.m. surveillance video, Jossimar's conflicting statements, the history of domestic abuse, and the autopsy report confirming homicide. Jossimar was represented by attorneys, filing appeals based on human rights claims. Meanwhile, the United States pushed forward, activating the U.S.-Peru extradition treaty. Public opinion in both countries watched closely. One small mistake, and the suspect could avoid being returned to the United States. December 12th, 2025, the day justice returned. Peru officially approved the final extradition decision. U.S. Marshals flew to Lima, took custody of Jossimar at the airport. He was handcuffed, escorted onto a plane back to Los Angeles, landing at approximately 6 p.m. that same day. Images of the extradition were captured. Jossimar with his head down, led by U.S. agents through an international airport. The moment Sheylla's family had waited for months. No more running. No more borders to hide behind. Latest update, January 2026. Jossimar appeared at Los Angeles County Superior Court, Antelope Valley, on December 15th, 2025, for arraignment. He heard the charges read, Murder with a special allegation, use of a knife as a deadly weapon. He was ordered held without bail, considered a high flight risk. The case is currently in the pre-trial stage. Prosecutors continue to build their case. Video evidence, witnesses, a history of domestic violence, and conflicting statements. The defense may argue a crime of passion or claim there is no direct evidence because no witness saw the killing. However, the early morning footage of an object being dragged and the near-perfect match between that object and the fabric-wrapped body found in the forest are factors that are extremely difficult to dismiss. If convicted of first-degree murder, premeditated, the maximum sentence could range from 26 years to life in prison, without parole. The 3 young children are now safe, with their grandmother, Sheylla's mother, in the United States. They are protected and cared for, but they have lost their mother forever. Sheylla's family continues to fight, not only for justice for her, but also to raise awareness about domestic violence as they wait for the official trial. But justice, even if it comes, cannot bring Sheylla back. Sheylla will never return home. She still lies there, on the cold slope of Angeles National Forest, wrapped in a curtain, dragged by her own husband at 4 a.m. 3 children, now forced to grow up without their mother's arms. They will never again hear their mother's lullabies, her voice calling their names when they come home. And one day, there will be a moment when they ask, "Where is Mom?" Another knife wound, driven straight into the heart of a family. The grandmother can only hold them and cry. They are too young to understand that. Their father killed their mother. Sheylla only wanted a divorce, only wanted a life without fear, only wanted her children to grow up in peace, and the price she paid was her life. She fought until her final breath, and even though she lost that battle, she still won. Because today, we are saying her name. Millions of people are saying her name, and millions more will never forget one truth. Love should never be paid for with a life. Sheylla Cabrera. We will not let you be forgotten. We will say your name every time someone says, "It's just a family argument." We will say your name every time someone says, "Just endure it for the children." We will say your name until there is no longer another Sheylla who has to die, simply for wanting to live. If today you are in an abusive relationship, even if it's only words, reach out to someone now. Hotline 1-800-799-7233. Or comment below this video. I need help. I and this community will be here for you. No one deserves to die just for wanting to live. Thank you for staying with me, for crying with me, for standing with me, demanding justice for Sheylla. Leave just one comment, "Justice for Sheylla," or even a single heart I will pin. Every one of those comments, so Sheylla's family knows, we never abandoned her. Like, if you want me to keep telling stories like this, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll update you as soon as there is news from the trial. And remember, you are not alone. Sheylla, we will never forget you. Looking back at this case, many people ask, what could have been different? If Sheylla had reported the abuse the first time, if neighbors had heard the arguments and called 911 sooner, if family members had recognized the red flags and intervened more forcefully. We cannot change the past, but we can change the future. Every story like Sheylla's is a reminder. Do not stay silent in the face of domestic violence. Listen when someone you love says, "I'm afraid." And teach our sons that real men never use violence to control. Sheylla no longer has a chance, but you do. Turn this pain into action, for yourself, for the people you love, and for the next potential victim.